Aloha, y'all. It's Brandy with Better Business Strategies here with Business Bites with Brandy. And I have a guest today, Kristine Bell. And Kristine and I actually met at a networking event and immediately hit it off. And lately, we've been working together, kind of co coaching with each other. I'm helping her with money strategies and kind of basic business kind of stuff like that. And she is a messaging guru, and she's really helped me dial in my communications with my clients. So, Kristine, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into messaging?
Thank you so much, Brandy, for having me here today. I really appreciate it. So I'm Kristine Bell, and I'm a customer strategist and researcher. So I'm all about really understanding your unique value proposition, but then aligning and unifying it with your ideal target market. So how I got into this is I actually started my career 23 years ago, giving my age away now. But I started in advertising, big advertising agencies in Ogilvy and Mather. And I was a strategist and I was writing creative briefs. And the creative brief is meant to inspire the creatives to create a fantastic, huge campaign. And there often millions of dollars goes into these campaigns. So it has to be a really good creative brief. And what we bring into a creative brief is we obviously want to understand the objectives, but very importantly, it's based on understanding a human truth in terms of our ideal target market. And once we identify a real human truth, and we can then create a single-minded promise for that in the messaging that delivers to that human truth, so it's relevant to the people we want to target. And also, once we identify that overall messaging promise, what's really important is that we can leverage that in different creative ways to communicate the ideas in a way that's going to entertain, engage, have impact, and also be persuasive. So those are the goals for messaging. So that's what I'm all about, and that's where I started my career. I then moved to London and I moved into brand innovation and also product innovation. And then I moved into qualitative in-depth research, strategic qualitative in-depth research, which was all about understanding our customers in real depth. So a lot of psychology, a lot of behavioral science, and really just having conversation with people so we understand them emotionally. And then we use that insights to create fantastic strategies in the customer space for the clients I was working with. And that would include in making sure that we identify the ideal product and service for them based on their needs and wants, but also their messaging and also the customer experience and the branding as well. So those are the key areas where our customers interact directly with our business. So we really want those four areas to sing the same song, to be coming from the same hymn sheet, I believe it's said. So if that's the case, when we engage a product or they buy a product or service from us, they understand what they're buying into because the messaging delivers to or talks to what we offer. The customer experience amplifies that experience and the same message because it sings with the product and services. It's in harmony with it, as well as the branding and our values. So if that's the case and we have all that singing together, what we're going to get is we're going to amplify what we're about in terms of our messaging. So when we go to market and everything sings together, it's going to be amplified in terms of impact, in terms of persuasion, and in terms of engaging with people. And really, for me, the big aha moment that I've had in my career, also working for myself in my own business for the last 7 years, doing customer strategy and research for small businesses, startups, and solopreneurs, is this. If we understand our customers' emotional needs, then we're going to be able to engage with them much better at a deeper level and build meaningful, lasting relationships. Now, why is that important? If we look at behavioral science theories and what has come out of research, so I particularly am very interested in Professor Daniel Kahneman. He came out with a book in 2011 that is Thinking Fast, Slow. It is really interesting because what we've learned about people is this. We have two systems of thinking. The first system is very intuitive, it's very immediate, and this is how we make decisions most of the time. We immediately have a thought or feeling about a person or product or service once we see it the first time. And that tends to rule. And that's how we most often make decisions because we have so much overwhelm in our life. We don't want to spend too much time making decisions. We
That
also have
that gut
access.
feeling, that gut
Yeah,
feeling that we get.
Exactly. It's that feeling. And then we tend to act on that. Sometimes we will rationalize as well. So we do have access to system two thinking as well. Everyone does. And that's the rational objective brain. Usually that doesn't kick in until we are forced to. So for example, you have to come up, to a solution to a math problem in math, and it's difficult and complex. You can't just feel your way into it. You actually have to sit and work it out in terms of the numbers. Yeah.
You've got
And
to
that's
get
the
that
rational
logic.
brain.
That logic brain's gotta be activated and participate, right?
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And based on those principles, so when we are communicating about our business and our offer and services, we most often will need to get a response that is emotional first. And it's also energetic. That's not what I learned in marketing, but there is an energetic exchange as well. And if we can tap into that and really show up authentically, that's when we're going to start connecting with the right people that are aligned to what we have to offer them and will appreciate what we are about and find value in what we service. So that's the principles of great messaging for me. So that's where I start. I start with the ideal target market, identify the unique value proposition based on what the consumers want, what your clients want. And from there, when we marry those two, we're going to have harmony and love, and that will come through in our messaging. So our messaging will be all about that. And if we can identify that overall promise, so mine would be my overall promise that I don't speak about necessarily in my messaging, but it's always there in the background is I want to help my clients take charge of their strategy in the business, because we take charge of our strategy, we're going to be the ones who are driving the success and sustainability in our business. And we don't want to outsource that strategy. Sure, we want to get input from other people, but we want to own it. And if we could own that promise, so mine is all about taking charge of your business and helping you take charge of your business strategy, specifically your customer strategy. And
And
that will come through my messaging in different ways.
sorry. I wanted to mention one of the things I love about working with you, and something I didn't think about until you had brought it up, was that we tend to work with different marketing people for different aspects of our business. And if we have not set our strategy up already, if we don't know what our strategy is, then they're going to help us create strategies. But if you're the person that's doing your email campaign, and the person that's doing your messaging for your website, and the person that's running your ads, if they each develop a different strategy, then you are not going to have any kind of congruency. You're not going to have an overall arching message. And you're going to have a harder time building that know, like, and trust, because your messaging is going to be different depending on how you're interacting with clients. And so this is really one of the things that I love about working with you, is the awareness and understanding of the need for you as the business owner to create your own marketing strategy and maintaining control of that marketing strategy as you work with different marketing aspects. So
Exactly.
what would you recommend for someone that is and I've started telling people, like, get your messaging down on, understand your ideal client, understand your strengths, your genius, understand all of that stuff before you build your website, before you build it, or you're going to
Exactly.
build it again and again and again as you understand your market. So if you have, if you come across a new business owner, what advice would you give to them just starting out? What's
I think you hit, thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head. And this is what I've been seeing doing informal research and formal research for the last 5 years, teaching and training small businesses, solopreneurs, and startups. Is exactly what you said. We tend to come from I have a great product and service idea. We tend to create it in isolation. Very few people actually go and test it with the ideal target market to find out who are the customers who are going to be interested in what I have to offer and what are their needs. So that's the first part, is when we start out, we want to actually have conversations with the people we want to service. We need to find them. People say, well, I don't know where to find them. I'm like, well, if you don't know where to find them now for research, how are you going to find them for selling to them? So if you
yes.
can't find them for sales, you got to find them, if you can't find them for research, you're going to struggle with sales too. So I really, really would like more people, when they start a business, to do some research, and they go, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, there are ways to learn that, and there are really simple ways to do research, which you can learn as well. And often it's just having conversations. Like just having a one-on-one like we're having it now will get you quite far, as long as they agree to it and say, hey, I've got a new product and idea. Can I talk to you about it, and get your honest opinion about it? And go beyond your family and best friends, because they will have a subjective view on it too, because they want to make you feel good, or sometimes they're actually quite harsh to the point that they're not the topic, they're not the target market. So really identify, who do you think your target market is? Then go and explore if they are indeed your target market. You might find they are, you might find they're not, and find out what their needs are. Once we do that, what happens then is what I've seen, what you just talked about, is we tend to jump straight to, oh my God, I've got to launch now, I've got to sell, I need money in. We're panicking about money, and we tend to jump over the part that's called, let's have a coherent strategy in place that holds it all together. And we go straight to, exactly, I need a website, I'll spend money on that. Someone will do my research and or my strategy for that. I need a brand logo, I need XYZ social media, and they do different strategies. And next thing, like you said, nothing hangs together. There is no single-minded message. So we really want to create that customer strategy that hangs it all together, that focuses on those key areas where customers interact with us in our business. And we want it to be single-minded and easy, because we all know how busy we are in life. We are just overwhelmed with information every day. So if we look at the big brands, what they do really well, the good ones, is they have one single-minded message, and you'll see it come through in their brand and different executions over 10 years sometimes. But what really works for that is we keep bringing the same overall message out in different ways to keep people entertained. And that will make people go, emotionally go, okay, I associate them with that. That's what they're about. And then when you speak to them in research around the world, you'll find that everyone has the same associations to Lego or to Volvo or to BMW. And it's quite extraordinary, but that's what the big brands do really well. And that's what I'm really passionate about small business doing as well. Make sure you get that single-mindedness together in terms of your product and offer. Have a strategy in place that you can then use. So you're in charge of your business, and you can go to different people that you're going to be working with social media, your sales pitch, etc., and you give them the strategy that they have to follow. And that way we can make sure that everything sings to the same beat, the same song. Does
I
that make
love
sense?
that. Yes, absolutely. And very empowering when you are the one that's in charge of your messaging and you are the one that's dictating your strategy. And then it's less confusing, right?
Yeah.
Then you're not trying to do this for your email, for your copyright. You're not trying to do this for the web design. You're not, you have your messaging, that's your messaging, and it's very clear, and that's less overwhelmed for you
Yeah.
because you're not getting pulled in 8 different directions then. So I
Exactly.
really love that. So
And once you have, sorry.
oh, no, go ahead. I was just gonna put you on the spot with a little, like, managing your time, or what do you do as a business owner? We always talk about self-care, or so what little tip would you give business owners like ourselves for managing the stress, or squeezing self-care in, or beating out the burnout? What do you do to keep showing up for your clients every day?
That's a great question. And actually, now you just mentioned it, 7.5 years ago when I started my business, I actually walked out of a job because of burnout that I didn't even know I had. I just was feeling lost. I was feeling exhausted. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew I had to change something. And then what I've learned through a lot of personal development coaching from people like yourself who've helped me, and others that I've worked with in the past, is that I've learned that it's really important that I do something for myself every day that is about me, that makes me feel good. Now, for me, and that can be different for everyone in terms of what makes you feel good and what really feels authentic and just relaxing. I like to go back to the things. So you think back to childhood, what did you love to get lost in for hours? You just enjoyed it for no other reason, just enjoy doing whatever it was. So for me, that's drawing, for example. I love drawing, and I've gone back to drawing in the last 4 years. I don't do it every day, but I do it every week. I'll sit down and I'll spend a couple of hours just drawing. And so that might look different for other people, but I also love walking. I love walking my dog. So for me, that's a really good time to just take time for me. I might listen to some personal development or spiritual stuff because that's what I'm into. as I'm walking to just come back into my center and back into my heart. And it's so easy in this overwhelming world with everything going on to get stuck in the external and get really fearful. And so I think it's really important at these times that we're living in at the moment, in the last 3 or 4 years, that we really learn to come back into our heart and to understand what's important to us and to feel into how we're feeling today and allowing us to feel some of those uncomfortable feelings as well with love and compassion. So for me, my big practice is around self-love, self-care. And Megan Nolan, that we both know, who's an amazing yoga and teacher and spiritual teacher as well, and self-care teacher, has really helped me as well in terms of putting yoga back into my everyday routine, whether it's a half an hour session or whether it's a 10 minutes at my desk. And it actually brings me back to me and reminding me of breathing again, and just breathe, because we can get very shallow breathing when we are in stress.
Yes, breath is so important. So both of us, big shout out to Megan Nolan. And if you don't know Megan, go back to my YouTube channel and watch the previous episode. I did a interview with Megan. You can learn more about her. So definitely check that out. But Kristine, how can people get to work with you? I'll drop some links down in the bottom of the YouTube down here. But how can people work with you, contact you? Where can we find you on social media?
So I am big on LinkedIn, Kristine Bell with a K. So that's where I spend most of my time on social media. I'm also trying to build up my reputation on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm a bit slow, I must admit. I only started those social media stuff for real last year. It took me quite a while because I've been working with big businesses where I didn't need to be on social media. But now that I'm much more fully into the space of solopreneur startups and small businesses, which is where my real passion is, it's all about mentoring and co-creating. I'm on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm still building YouTube, but you can also reach out to me on those channels. And then I do free classes, Zoom classes that are quite interactive and interesting. It's all about customers usually, barriers to converting, the 4 E's to messaging. So it's really about all those key areas of marketing where we can connect deeper with our clients that I talk about in my free classes. And then if you're interested in that, you can also book in a one-on-one with me, half an hour chat where I can talk to you about what I do in terms of creating a one-page customer strategy that you can put on your wall that can guide you in your business, including your messaging. And then I offer that service as well. So we can talk about that. And I've got a few other things coming up. I've got an online workshop coming up, which is online. It's all about effective messaging that connects with your customers. So that's coming up in March the 24th, Australia time. So that would be March 23rd in the US. So I work with a lot of clients in the US as well, and that works well with the time zones in Australia, Sydney. So that will be on my LinkedIn as well. So if you can find me on LinkedIn, that's where I am. I'm also got a linktree.com. I can share that with you, where you can see everything about me, where you can just look at all my different things in one place.
That would be fabulous. We'll put all those links down there down below in the YouTube comments. And I highly recommend that you come and check out Kristine's the courses that she teaches. I'm always there because it's such good stuff, such good stuff. So definitely come and check her out, and check her out on LinkedIn too. Yeah, I've swapped from you. I've been on Facebook and Instagram for years, and now I'm trying to build up on LinkedIn. So we'll get there.
Time. So I think that's another point to say. You know, when you start a business, social media, if you kind of force someone to do it for it, and I actually recommend that you do some of it yourself until you really get a feel for how you want to come out and how you want to message yourself, if you are the brand, if you are a service business.
Yes.
I think it is important that you show up yourself for a while at least, so you know what feels right to you and how best to connect with your customers rather than get someone else to do it for you. But at some point, it does become overwhelming. So I think we have to be realistic when you start out. Choose the one channel first that you feel that you really want to go hard on, that feels right for your target market, feels right for you and your offer as well. Start there and then start building the other channels as well.
Yes, do not try to be everywhere at once in the beginning. It's the speed train to burnout.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely business strategy wise as well. Pick the platform where your ideal client hangs out the most and start there. Build your brand there, build an audience there, get strong there, and then start other platforms. So there's a lot of choices, but you can't be
Yeah.
everywhere at once for sure.
No. And at some point, I might need help too. There comes a point where it's like, wow, this is a lot to do, because you also need to interact with people to some extent if you want them to interact with you. It's often it's a co-relationship thing that you're building at the same time. I don't know if that's a word.
Absolutely. And then we talked a little bit about following up, and we'll have to wrap up here. Kristine and I probably talked to you guys for hours about this stuff. We surely talk to each other for hours about this stuff. But yeah, it's all business strategies, right? And especially when you're starting out, figuring out what those core strategies are that you need to
Yeah.
implement, and focusing on those for sure. But following up, if you are at a point where you are building, that you do have an audience, that you have engagement in your social media, make sure that you are keeping track of where those prospects are coming in, and follow up with them. Follow up with them. It is so
That's a very
important
good point. Keep
that
following
you
up,
follow
keep
up.
building relationships.
Yes.
And another thing is, don't try to sell on the first date.
No.
Like, it just puts a lot of people off if you want to be authentic. Don't try and sell, just get to know someone first. And by all means, tell them about what you do, but don't go as too hard on the first date. I had someone the other day on a Zoom call, and she kind of said, oh, I just want to, she was Danish actually, and wanted to catch up with me. And she just said, I just want to have a catch up and learn about how you got to Australia, etc. She said, sure, we can have a conversation. But suddenly it turned into her really wanting to sell to me. And I had to go, can we just slow down a little bit, please? So feel into the person as well if you are having one-on-ones. And one-on-ones are important when you're starting a business, to get to know your target market as well.
Absolutely. And being a coach, questions are our bread and butter, right? The coaching side of my business is all about asking questions. And the more questions you ask, the better you can communicate what you have to give to your prospect, and then the more likely you are going to be able to close that sale. So if you're just blanket selling, you're going to turn a lot of people off. But if you're developing relationships, and then you can more clearly speak to what that client, the prospective client or customer, is looking for, and you're only going to know that after having some conversations with them, then it's not even selling. I don't sell, I serve. And Kristine, Privy, right? You serve. It's
Exactly. And
serving.
you made such a good point. I just want to come back to the emotional part of it. When we ask questions, we actually get a chance to understand how they want to feel emotionally, what they're looking for emotionally. And if we understand that, we are much more able to deliver to those emotional needs that they have. And ultimately, all of us want to feel good.
Right.
Fear does sell, but feeling good will keep you clients loyal and give advocacy as well. And I believe that advocacy and loyalty is the key to building a successful business. So fear sells fast, but it doesn't keep them loyal, because
Right.
ultimately we as humans want to feel good. So if we can really have a conversation with people or our clients or our prospects, target market, understand how they want to feel. And that's part of our messaging as well.
Yep, so important. So important to understand those motivations. That's another thing. I love it. We'll have to save that topic, motivations, instead of for niching down. We had a beautiful conversation about that. So yeah, you're just gonna have to wait for the next Kristine Bell interview for that. Motivation, niching for motivation instead of niching for your avatar. But that's just, you know, that's just going to be a little, we'll get into that on the next one, right? So tune in for the next Business Bites with Brandy. And again, Kristine Bell, thank you so much. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. And well, we'll have you on again real soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time that you spent with me here and for inviting me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, y'all check in every week for new episodes and drop any comments down in the bottom. We'll keep checking them if you have questions, and click on those links to connect with Kristine. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.